There are many terrifying organisms that comprise the various hive fleets of the nightmarish Xenos race, labelled by the Imperium of Man as Tyranid. Titanic monsters stride across the battlefield, crushing and rending, tearing tanks apart with superlative ease. Others lurk beneath the soil, burrowing, closing upon their targets before exploding forth to wreak terror and havoc. Others employ a different means to hide from the eyes of their prey, using their chameleonic hides to merge with shadow and terrain before launching forth to shred flesh in their never-ending thirst for biomass. The various species of gaunt, however, instill a special kind of dread, not through size or stealth or withering firepower or even nightmarish appearance, but rather through sheer weight of numbers. While Hormagaunt and Gargoyle announce their imminent arrival with volleys of grotesque projectiles from flesh borers, devourers and spinefists, the Hormagaunt charges forth howling with naught but claws, teeth and talons. However, they leap and bound with such terrifying speed that there may only be time to unleash the briefest of volleys before this sea of spikes and chitin slam into the targeted lines and unthinkingly embrace their dread purpose. As the shadow in the warp floods the doomed planet, the earthquakes and psychic nightmares precede clouds of mycetic spores that thunder through the air and slam upon the soil. Hormagaunts pour forth, their every cell charged with vitality, and soon entire hordes of these beasts gather and advance on bastions of life. Hormagaunts are less dependent on the hive mind than other non-synapse creatures of the Hive Fleet because they are genetically instilled with a ravenous and insatiable appetite. This causes them to hurl themselves at biomass with berserker fury and a complete disregard for their own survival. All they know is that they must feed, immediately, constantly, endlessly. And while there is terror in seeing their numbers, for the Hormagaunts themselves, there is also a ghastly homicidal inspiration in these very same numbers. When they attack in sizable quantities, they seem to grow stronger just from weight of numbers, and their efficiency in killing grows. However, when separated from the dominance of the hive mind, rather than succumb to animalistic urges, Hormagaunts are known to burrow or seek places of refuge and concealment. Once secluded, they sink into a dormant state, slowing their metabolism to an almost imperceptible level, one almost indistinguishable from death itself. But the spark of their animalistic drive is there, like a fire choked of oxygen, the embers glowing patiently, waiting for that surging breath of air brought by the hive mind, rekindling their ferocity, at which point they explode back into life to fulfill their devoted, slaughterous purpose. The function of the Hormagaunt is somewhat elegant in its brutal simplicity: advance, kill, and they are admirably equipped through meticulously crafted evolution to fulfill these two roles. Powerful hind legs propel them at fantastic speeds, allowing them to launch into the air, clearing obstacles and defences and pounding across the field of battle in the blink of an eye. Adrenal glands can be grown to further enhance this already unnatural alacrity, and when they arrive in combat, scything talons are poised to punch through armour and plunge into flesh. Toxin sacs are another horrendous adaptation. These glands swell along their upper back and are laden with small mites that secrete a potent poison that coats the natural weapons of the Tyranid, not only causing grievous additional trauma, but are also laden with the phage cells of the Tyranids. The term phage literally means to eat, and this is precisely its function. The phage cells attach to the host cells, injecting DNA and beginning the horrendous process of turning the unwitting flesh into raw material for the Hive Fleet, which means that when Hormagaunts feast upon the fallen, they draw greater energy in a considerably shorter time, accelerating the power and generation of even more Hormagaunts. Even if a world manages to resist the Hive Fleet and defeats the swarm, the Hormagaunt often arises again soon after, not from reseeding via fresh spores from above, but because Hormagaunts are capable of independent reproduction. When the hive mind begins to wane, a dreadful survival instinct rears up in the hormagaunts and parthenogenesis begins. This self-cloning method is sometimes seen in insects and reptiles, and is a method that can replace normal reproductive means, and can just as easily be discarded when needed no longer. This makes the hormagaunt the single most hard to eradicate species in the known galaxy. Should a single organism survive the defeat of the swarm, it can go to ground, whereupon this dormant ability activates. Hidden away, they begin to reproduce, and as each brood matures at their customary accelerated rate, it too begins to reproduce. This creates a geometric rate of multiplication that can restore the swarm to fearsome numbers in just a few days, at which point starvation and the frantic need for fresh biomass accentuates their ferocious nature, and once again they gallop towards the nearest source of fresh biomass. One wonders how many species were rendered utterly extinct by these creatures in however many galaxies the Hive fleets have crossed before reaching ours. It is perhaps a testament to the perfection of their design that they have remained unchanged since the Tyranids arrived here, and where new and deadly bioforms have been created, it is still the gaunts who are the front line, main wave of any Tyranid advance. Quick and deadly, single-minded of purpose, the strength and terror of the Hormagaunt is its numbers. Produced en masse by the Hive Fleet, capable of laying dormant and of mass self-replication, they are an endless source of ammunition to fire at those for whom the great devourer has come.